Principal Secretary, Department of IT and Electronics, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and all the other panelists. To inaugurate the first session of the day 2 of e-Uttar Pradesh, I would request Jivesh sir to please give a welcome note just to inaugurate the second day of the session. Please, sir.
My colleague and dear friend Alok, Principal Secretary, Vocational Education, Jitendra Kumar, Secretary Education, and my colleagues from different departments and distinguished guests who have come from different places in the country to attend this e-Uttar Pradesh. Let me say that the response that we got from industry, from different government departments, it is overwhelming, and the participation has been very good, and we have been able to gain some insights, some learnings as to where should we be going. आज दूसरे दिन जो करीब हमारा आधे दिन से थोड़ा सा बड़ा प्रोग्राम है, उसकी हम शुरुआत अब करना चाहते हैं। आप सभी लोगों का स्वागत है और हमारे जितने भी डिस्टिंग्विश्ड पैनलिस्ट्स हैं, ये पहले सेशन के वो आ चुके हैं, एंड आई विल रिक्वेस्ट देम, ऑल द पैनलिस्ट, आप यहाँ पे आए और इसको हम लोग शुरू करें।
We request the panelists to join us on the stage. Today in this session, IT and Education, we have as Program Chair Mr. Alok Kumar, Principal Secretary, Vocational Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh. And in the other panelists, we have Mr. Jitendra Kumar, Secretary Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh, Dr. D.K. Mishra, Director, NILET, Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, Vice President, ILFS Education, Mr. Lokesh Mehra, Director, Education Advocacy, Microsoft, Mr. Chiranjib Banerjee, Country Manager, HP India, and last but not the least, Mr. Srinivas S., Director, South Asia, Intel. I welcome all the panelists, and from this, I hand over the session to Mr. Alok Kumar, Principal Secretary, Vocational Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh. So please. It's till 11. 11. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good morning. It's my pleasure to be with this eminent panel and esteemed delegates. My job has become very easy because I've got very eminent panel who are experts in their own fields and holding key positions. So my job will be just to listen to their views, and in the end I will try to summarize the key thoughts or key recommendations of the session. To save time, I would like to share my thoughts right now in the area of vocational education and skill development. So, IT has taken us by surprise now. If we talk of generations, it has come so suddenly and it is changing so fast. We are grappling both how to cope up with the speed of change in IT when we take into account the inertia in government systems. So it's really a challenge to cope up and adjust to the changes we are facing. But it is utmost necessity that we make our future labor force and our future citizens IT savvy, not only IT savvy, that they have competence to use IT for the welfare of the society and for their own welfare and their well-being. I'll share a few initiatives which Government of Uttar Pradesh has taken for IT in the area of vocational education and skill development. The government has approved an ambitious skill development mission which aims to impart short-term employment-oriented skill imparting programs to about 24 lakh youth in next 3 years. It's a very big program, very ambitious program, and I'm happy to share with you that the mission has integrated the IT component in every module. Even if we are training a youth for a mason or for a fitter, for an electrician, he will also be given a small component of IT. So we have built in, say, a component of soft skills ranging from 80 hours to 20 hours, depending on the need of the job or the profession the youth will be going after training. And every youth who will be doing a vocational training in the mission format will be given an exposure to IT in an integrated manner. Let me also share with you at this juncture, we run around 220 government ITIs and we have 1400 private ITIs. So, and this number is going up very rapidly. It is a matter of pleasure to share with you that the syllabus which is regulated by NCVT for this ITI curriculum, they have now made it mandatory that there would be a IT lab in every institute. We have got recently, only in June this year, we have got the latest instructions that every ITI, whether government or private, will necessarily have an IT lab, and IT lab will be say of the size corresponding to the number of students in the institute, and there will be dedicated IT instructor, and every ITI trainee, irrespective of the trade he is studying in, will be given an exposure and a course in IT. So there's a very major intervention is going to happen. IT as a medium of instruction is another area which is very important, because at the rate we are expanding, it is a challenge to have sufficient number of good trained instructors. So now adopting IT for multiplying the output of good instructor is a necessity, but this area is yet to take off. So we are also setting up a staff training and research center in UP for producing trained faculty in for ITIs, both government and private. So we intend to introduce this IT as a teaching tool. So that will be another area, and it is a big challenge to make the existing stock of experienced instructors IT savvy, because their experience in imparting skill is very valuable. So the challenge is to make them IT savvy so that they can adopt the new IT teaching tools. I will close by by sharing with you one big challenge that in government setup, we are yet to have a IT cadre. I think this is being faced in every government department. So traditionally, we have our services in departments, which are the officers. They have the domain knowledge, be it transport, be it vocational education, be it stamp registration. But now to manage this IT, both IT courses and the introduction of IT for the management and administration of the programs, we need to have professionals who have sufficiently good knowledge of IT as well as the domain. So that cadre is not emerging. So I have a thought to share that every department now, as a stated policy, consciously needs to develop a cadre of, say, maybe 1/10 of the office of the total strength, who are nurtured and their prospects are made attractive enough, who will have both the domain knowledge and IT, and who will be the backbone for the, say, management and administration of, say, IT component in every department. So I will leave at that. And now I will request my colleague Jitendra to share his thoughts this morning with us.
Good morning, everybody. Proceeding from what our colleague Mr. Alok Kumar shared the view in vocational education, I am looking after secondary education in government of UP, that's deal with from class 9th to 12th. And the board of secondary education, UP board is the biggest board in Asia. Every year, about 52 to 56 lakh students pass out from UP board. Class 10th, this number is 32 lakh, and so in class 12th is about 23 lakh. If you see the present scenario in secondary education in class 9 to 12th, the students who are going to higher education, or many of them are going for vocational education. Now, the platform is somewhat different which used to be in early years. IT sector has been introduced in these areas in a big way. In our 4,000 schools, we have computer labs equipped with internet and broadband. Maybe at some places there are connectivity issues, but the computer labs are there. Course content is there. Students are there who want to learn, who want to develop their skill. So the platform is almost ready for the launching, but there are many limitations. If we discuss about the limitations, why, in spite of these facilities, we are not rolling out in the speed at what it should be. The first challenge what I see in this education department is the resistance from teachers, resistance from principals. In all these 4,000 schools, a third-party evaluation had also been done by KNY. Some of the representative must be here. And we have shared their third-party evaluation tools also. The biggest thing is that during our progress to provide the device to students, somehow we have left the teachers. Today, we have given laptops to 15 lakh students. But I wonder how many teachers have the access to laptops. Teachers are the person who are supposed to train the student to work on the laptops. But the teachers don't have access. And then we have a group of teachers who has grown up in a traditional pedagogy methods. They are not computer friendly. So whenever we introduce some technological input, the resistance comes from that side. I have seen it in the teachers training program organized by Intel. Microsoft and Intel organized the teachers program. Since long, it is being run from many years. I have participated in some of the program. What happens that the teachers are intimidated, they are afraid with the students. They say, they understand that our student knows better than us, they know more than us, so they feel embarrassing. They feel embarrassed and they just resist every technological input, whatever we want to do. So when the teachers and the principal resist, the program cannot roll out in the way we want. So we will have to think of to remove the resistance of the teacher, how it should be removed, how it should be made teachers friendly, how the technology is going to make their life easier. There are so many things. I have seen one product from ILFS, KNY, projected, inbuilt projector system. Along with that, we have given it to some of the laboratory also. Along with some applications, if we use and if we train our teachers, it is going to make their life easier. What happens every time the teacher comes in the class to teach the same chapter, he has to write every time. He has to write down on the board, or be it the blackboard or the whiteboard, every time he has to write down. So he has to repeat the things every time. If he use the technological input, he has not to repeat every time. He can store his earlier session and he can again present it to the students. So in this way, he will save his time and he can produce new things. He can inbuilt the new technical inputs in his lectures. But we will have to train the teachers. If we can't train the teachers, then the program will go on the slowest pace. Second challenge which I see, that the device what we give to the students. Our students are literally used to of the traditional pedagogy still now. They still feel it comfortable reading in lecture room where the teacher is in front of the board, whiteboard or blackboard, and they're teaching it and the student is taking note on the notepad on the pen. Even many of us are comfortable on that only. We are having laptop and the tablets also access to technology, but we feel comfortable on the notebooks. So the technology should be like that, the life should be made easier. The device should be like that. They should encourage the creation. Right now we have the device where the student or the teacher can read, they can see, but they cannot create. This is the point where the mobile applications has made the biggest difference. So you see the popularity of the mobile, why it has become much more popular in comparison to tablet and laptops. So WhatsApp, be it a WhatsApp or an SMS, immediate one can respond. But in case of tablet, or the tablet has the capacity to have the thousands of books there. But it doesn't have the capacity while we are reading the book, we want to take some footnote. We found that these pages, these paragraphs are important for us, we want to reproduce it. So in manual reading, we make it a footnote on the book itself or on the notebook. But this facility doesn't have on the tablet, this facility doesn't have on the laptop. So this is an area of challenge for the technocrats who are here. If you make the life comfortable for students, the life comfortable for teachers, the technology will grow in a very fast way. But if you can't, then it will keep on going on a slow pace. Here we need to multiply it in a faster way because the platform is ready. UP is the first in the country to distribute 15 lakhs laptops to the students. These students have gone in the higher education. But now the challenge is to provide them the wide internet base. Because if the internet base is not there, the utility of the laptop will be very, very limited. So the government is also working on that, but the technocrats will have to work on the technology which can provide the wide area internet network on a cheaper rate. Right now, many departments are there for provide. The telecom department is there, and then the education department is there, the finance department is there. Somebody will have to coordinate it so that the wide area internet access should come on. And then, of course, the participation of private sectors is very, very important. You can provide us the technical input. The government can provide you the platform, necessary platform from where the technical inputs can be launched off. And if we go together in hand in a comfortable way, then this will certainly roll out. The model is ready in UP and we are ready to receive it. And on this note, I conclude it, and then I will welcome any comment from that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jitendra. You made very valid point about the empowering teachers and faculty members. Now I request Dr. D.K. Mishra. He is a joint director in Delhi, the former DOEC. He is an MTech in computer science and a PhD. Please, it's your time.
Respected Sri Alok Kumar ji, Principal Secretary, Vocational Education, Government of UP. Respected Sri Jitendra Kumar ji, Secretary, Secondary Education, Government of UP. Respected all other dignitaries from different fields on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, India has got core competence in human resource. Our strength is huge manpower. Our present population is 125 crore. Half of the population is young. Almost 30 crore of the people are even below the age of 25 years. This youth brigade is full of energy and is ready to adopt any new technology for their betterment of their career and nation building. Now, if their hands are equipped with the knowledge and skill of the emerging technologies like information technology, electronics, then they will be definitely able to change their fate and hence change the fate of the nation. Now, there is a need to create an environment and to provide opportunity to each and every youth of the country to get world-class training in his area of interest as well as at his doorsteps as his neighborhood. Now, Government of India has taken initiative in this particular directions and has set up skill development councils way back in 2008 under the chairmanship of Honorable Prime Minister. Many new institutions has also been set up, national skill development corporations, and in the state skill development missions has been established. Curriculum has been designed on the international standards, and that is known as National Vocational Education Qualification Framework. Almost in every area, the curriculum has been designed and being implemented through the state development missions. In UP also, this skill development program has come up in a big way by the state development mission under the able guidance of the Principal Secretary Vocational Education. NILET has also recently signed agreement with the All India Council of Technical Education to reform its O-level and A-level courses on the NVQEF pattern and is committed to deliver skill development training in the area of information, electronics and communication technology. We are committed to deliver in this particular area in information, electronics and communication. And in the coming presentation, I will show you that what are the different targets set in the national policy and how NILET is trying to achieve those targets with help of different programs and activities through the different centers scattered to the entire country. Now, National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology, that is an autonomous body under the Department of Electronics and Communication, under the Ministry of IT. Next. जी. Now, we have some main points of national policy. The objective of national policy on IT is to enhance India's position as global IT hub and use IT as an engine to drive Indian economy to ensure rapid, inclusive and sustainable growth. Now, next objective is to provide ubiquitous and convenient access to information and government services to ensure efficiency, transparency, accountability and reliability in the government system. Now, next one is to create necessary physical and institutional infrastructure for creating a pool of 10 million trained manpower in IT sector by the 2020. Now, next is to set up Center of Excellence in Institute of Higher Learning to provide 3,000 PhDs in ICT area by the year 2020. Now, next objective is to train at least one person from every household to make them illiterate to ensure inclusion. Next objective is to provide secure cyberspace in India to ensure trustworthy environment among the users to ensure sustainable growth. This is very important because of all of the players who are working in the cyberspace. They must feel secured and independent functionality must be allowed to them so that they can freely work in the cyberspace without worrying about the other security issues. The final objective is to transform Indian society into knowledge-based society and the country into developed nation. Now, to achieving this particular objective, NILET is trying to develop IT resource. National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology is primarily engaged in two types of activities. First objective is to provide world-class educational training in the field of information and communication technology, that is HR development. And the second one is, it is a premier examination body of the nation in certification and examination concerns. Then our vision is to be the leader in the development of industry-oriented quality education and training and be the country's premier institute for examination and certification in the field of information, electronics and communication technology. Our different courses like CCC, BCC, that courses has been made compulsory for the recruitment of the clerical cadre examination by the state governments and in many states also. In the mission to be the single source of quality assurance in computer education, among the nation's non-formal sector. Now these are the objectives: to create human resource in the area of ICT through the formal and non-formal short-term courses, to accelerate training institutions, to accredit the training institutions in the area of ICT. In UP, we have 200 different centers who are providing training to the O-level, A-level learners and strengthening our hands for imparting IT education. Now we have almost presence in every part of the country. In 19 states, we have 28 centers who are imparting IT education. Now courses can be divided into 3 different sectors: primary skills like basic computer courses, and then course in computer concept; secondary skills like O-level, A-level and IT-enabled services courses; and tertiary, that is degree level courses like B-level, IT, bioinformatics, etc. Now we are also providing short-term courses like in the field of electronics, design and technology, information technology, manufacturing technology, VLSI embedded systems, information security, maintenance engineering, e-learning, these are etc. Now we have the training capacity of around 3 lakhs human resource in field of ICT area can be developed in one session. These are the NILET hierarchy of courses. With the help of this slide, I want to explain that the students who have not got the opportunity to enroll in the formal sector, they can also realize their dream with the help of non-formal sector by coming DOEC courses like O-level, A-level, B-level, and after completing the B-level course, they can be degree holders in the field of information and they can develop them as a IT professional. Now, our courses are recognized. We have future plan to establish NILET as a virtual university. Now, अंत में मित्रों, एक नारे के साथ मैं अपना प्रोग्राम खत्म करना चाहता हूं। यूपी को चमकाना है, भारत को बनाना है, आइए अब साथ चलें, राष्ट्र का नवनिर्माण करें। थैंक यू।
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Mishra. And NILET is doing a wonderful job all across India and full spectrum education right from elementary courses to PhD. I have a pleasure now requesting Dr. B. Chandrasekhar. He is Vice President and he represents ILFS Education, ILFS Skills and ILFS Cluster. I think you can take around 6 to 7 minutes because...
6 to 7 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah. So that we have some time to also have a question answer. Thank you.
Can somebody help me out to this, get this on? Okay. Respected Chair, my colleagues on the dais.
You can see from there.
Okay, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to speak as the chair was requesting for a 6 minutes. It's going to be a quick round of discussions, short. Is there a possibility we'll show the McKinsey video? There's a skill study. And I was expecting that I'll speak on ICT in education, particularly on blending reinforced learning in the schools. But I see the entire interest with the chair and the others are also in the vocational. I'm just going to combine it, but it's going to be everything on the talk. Okay, even before the presentation gets on, I'd like to briefly mention, I think it's been a decade we have been talking about ICT in education, particularly in the schools. Now we are talking about the vocational contents and so on and so forth. But I think you will appreciate ICT has played a major role in terms of upgrading the quality of education in the schools, in the higher education and so on. There is a range of applications we are looking at, not only on education, but also agriculture, finance. Wherever we see ICT has played a major role. This has been the engine of growth, rather, changing the economy. So briefly, what ICT in education will be? ICT in education can be defined as technological devices, tools, contents, resources which can be deployed in realizing the goals of the teaching, learning processes as well as management of educational processes. It's very important we all are aware of the kind of technological inputs. This is a broad landscape of what Indian education is all about. So we have a lot of focus on schools, the higher education. Now it's the ICT has come into a major significance, and also we are now talking about the vocational education because skilling has become the one of the important agenda of the government. Also, we are looking at globally how we are able to position ourselves in this meeting the global skills force. So it means that whole challenge also lies in 500 million to be skilled by 2020. If you look at the gaps, where we have in terms of capacity, in terms of skills training, now we see that is very important in the schools is that student-learner engagement in the classrooms. How is it possible? The conventional teaching does not in any way help us. So the technology has made a major role. So I'm going to briefly discuss about the case of ILFS education itself. ILFS itself believed in the scale of operations, be it in schools, be it in skills. One, the advantage of ILFS is pan-India present and looks at every of the 650 odd districts, ILFS has penetrated into 480 districts through either in skills program or through our education programs. In education, the whole focus, of course, the lineage comes to our infrastructure group. This is the entire group which you are seeing currently. The education, skills and the cluster forms the social infrastructure group. So of course, the whole lineage comes from there. Wherever the infrastructure has been there, we were asked to work on the social, be it education, be it skills. So looking at the positioning within education and skills, this has been largely the focus, the education service, but I'm not going to talk much on the other services. Our focus will be on the education alone. So in education, we are there. We were primarily ILFS Education started as a content company. Why content was important was when the mandate, while doing infrastructure project, we were asked to improve the quality of rural schools. How these rural schools can be either teacher capacity development, but the whole issue on the teacher capacity is going to be teachers retaining the school is going to be a challenge. Why? Because teachers don't have interest to go to the rural schools. And 100% availability in the classroom, and moreover, the less number of teachers handling more students in the rural schools has been a challenge. So what is that one thing which can change was the content. If there is a multimedia content available, entire lessons mapped on multimedia, I'm sure one teacher can teach, the ratio can 1:40 can go to 1:100 as well. How do we engage them? So it's an innovative product ILFS also came with is the KAN, integrated community computer or the integrated multimedia device, a projection system integrated into it. Again, all this, when it's a computer, I have a hard disk space, I can load loads of contents into it. That's the advantage. And we are there in other space, I think the whole bouquet of list is here. And skills, again, we have largely focused on the school leaver, school dropout. When I say the placement linked skill training program, it's got to do with the youth or the children who have never attended the school or who have left school for some or other reasons. So what we have done was we have mobilized them, brought to a skill center provided them a minimum number of learning hours of skill training as per modular employable skills or any other vocational program which can lead to the placement. Can we just let me finish this, then we'll go to the video. So and now currently, as we are already there in the school space, the Government of India, as you all are aware of National Vocational Education Qualification Framework, and the vocationalization in the schools is the current topic. And we are already there in around 30 odd schools in the country providing vocational education. The advantage for us was the placement linked skill program. When we have targeted school dropouts, school leavers, this already had formed the basis for entry into the schools. These become the new category which we call as recognition of prior learning. These contents fit very well to the school resources. This is the product which I have been talking about. So we are there in the entire holistic ICT lab management in the schools. We can conceive what is the need for a school in terms of ideating the lab. We have the contents mapped to the state syllabus, mapped to the CBSE syllabus, available in regional languages. And in addition to that, our other ICT products include the web-enabled learning, the Explorements. Explorements focuses exclusively on science education, science and maths education. So again, when I say web-enabled, there is a kind of a payment because we have invested a lot of resources into it in terms of manpower, in terms of content, etc. So it's a payment-based learning processes. And in terms of skills, the K-Skills, our branded skill learning program, which has 10,000 hours of learning hours. 40 trades as mapped to modular employable skills are currently available with us. So this is the entire ICT labs. We are almost there we have set up 18,000 labs in the country. This is a device which I've been talking about. So any kind of wall can remain as a screen and it can go into a virtual. I have virtual product integrated into it. Anyone can use it as a blackboard, whiteboard, music board, graphs, etc., etc. Entire features are mapped into it. One device, multi-purpose educational activity. You can see it's very simple and effective tool because it has only one power cord, nothing more, and it's portable. A teacher can carry to entire 4.5 kg. Now we are innovating into a less number. The size could be still, the weight could be still lesser, very portable, and it's safety, single cord. And what you need is a one power cord, nothing more, accessible, and teachers can easily be accessing it, self-instructive mode. This is the content I've been talking about, 2D, 3D multimedia contents, and we can enable the Explorements web-based learning also as part of a package for students to learn, have an advanced learning into two. In addition to that, it's not that we have been producing contents, the KAN, but teachers also are all trained to empower to use this, how they can use this innovative product. In addition to that, this has a lot of features. Teacher can develop their own lessons, their own assessment, bring in new products. They can connect to the Google, connect your TV and bring in new products even during the classrooms. You have a dongle into it and you are connected. So this product has been in the market for last 14 years and some of the accolades. And this product was jointly developed by IIT Bombay, and ILFS owns the patents. And we are the only producers across the globe of this product. And now we have reached Africa, and 500 of our this KAN product is being ported off along with the content. Their contents are developed by us. So the impact is the wide variety of use, enriching. You can see the children being continuously engaged in the classroom. We have done a case study in Bihar. We have seen that students have been in the classrooms for longer duration. The most important aspect in school learning is how children get engaged in the classroom, how children engage with teachers in terms of learning. The impact has been huge. So we have 18,000 ICT labs across the country. We are present in 25,000 schools. We have impacted 4.5 lakh teachers, and over 8 million children have been touched through our either content and our devices. So this is a pan-India present. We have set up 18,000. So these are the states large, and ILFS believes in the, when I began this talk, I was telling ILFS believes in the scale of business. These are the kind of schools we have been interacting. And wherever we are present, the ICT labs are on a turnkey basis, either boot model, VOO model. So we are there for 3 years in terms of not only setting up the lab, but also enabling training teachers to use this content, and we have assessed it. So largely, on this experience, what we believe is that ICT is going to be the role of engine of innovation in education. Even our own self, you can see this Kayan when I'm going to a classroom, any kind of conventional projector needs to go into a larger distance to get a bigger screen. But this Kayan is to create even a bigger screen of 70 mm, you need is a 3-foot distance. That's the innovation we have made. And you don't see any refractions across the projection system. Even in a highly illuminated system, this can work. A video content can go. The capacity building of learner profile is very important. Active participation of learner by these multimedia contents being available. One teacher also finds it very easy to make children understand the difficult lessons. A comprehensive ICT policy covering the key development sectors of the engine of the growth is a need. I think Government of India is contemplating on a comprehensive ICT policy which will not only take care of the secluded issue, any kind of innovative areas, but it's going to be it agriculture, be it banking, be it social sector development, be it education, be it skills. ICT policy will encompass all these features. I'd like to quickly run through you about what the impact. An impact done by the McKinsey.
I'm afraid you have to be very brief now. The 15 minutes you have taken.
I'm just over. Just last but not the least, the impact of what McKinsey has done a study on the classroom to industrial employment. So, which I think seeing is believing, I think you can see that.
I think we'll close it now at this
I'm
moment.
done.
Yeah.
Just only one word, one final word. Okay. Even in skills also, when I say just even before, when the video is not there, ILFS Skills is the largest company who had impacted 2.5 million youth.
On the issues that are in front of them and don't recognize the critical importance of seeing it as a system.
The industry requires work skills, and our educational system doesn't provide those work skills.
We were struggling to find the skilled labor that could work in the plants.
I realized I needed to do something better with my life.
In order to get an understanding of what's happening, we did a survey of 4,500 youth, 2,700 employers, and 900 education providers across 9 countries. 40% of employers report that skills are a main driver of entry-level job vacancies. Young people are 3 times more likely than their parents to be out of work. We have seen successful examples of education to employment. As part of our research, we profiled over 100 cases across 25 countries.
Education and skills were seen as a state responsibility, but the
Sorry,
execution was
sorry, I have to intervene.
NGO space.
Thank you, Dr. B. Chandrasekhar. It was very useful, but I had to intervene because we have got 3 more speakers and we need some time for discussions also. Now I invite Mr. Lokesh Mehra. He is Director, Education Advocacy, Microsoft. Please.
Sure, sir.
Morning everybody, to the distinguished panel out here and to all the friends in the audience. We'll just start off once she's able to put on the presentation. So my name is Lokesh and I represent Microsoft. Okay, I just wanted to start off by giving you a snapshot of what's happening in the Indian education scenario. If you look at a couple of things out here, the government is spending a lot of money to ensure that our younger generation is able to reap the benefits of the education that is going into the country. Just FYI, the budget has gone up from the 11th plan, which is about $6 billion, to about $17.3 billion. So it's about a 3x jump in just the kind of funding what has gone in from the 11th to the 12th plan. Big focus on skills, and I think previous speakers also talked about that. Skills is very, very critical now for the country. Two lacunae that exist, and you can see, which are highlighted in red out there. One is, there's a huge shortage of teachers. We are talking about not only in the K-12 sector, but even in the higher ed sector. And the second thing which the industry keeps talking about, that majority of the youth who are getting churned out practically are, I would say, still inadept. They need to have some more skills which would, have them more focused, and the industry can recruit them specifically. You need to understand that what education was 10 years back when Dr. Chandrasekhar was talking about specifically when the ICT boot model started. We were, having computer labs in the schools. And now it is slowly transitioning from your basic aspects of labs in the computer rooms to tablets and devices in the hands of the student. And that's where the actual interaction happens specifically. Yes, our students are getting hooked a lot on the web, but the whole idea is that the computer should be more of an engagement device. It's where they argue with each other and then they're able to explore some aspect and come back with a synthesis and analysis of what they have actually done. You need to figure out that the classrooms today, with the sage on the stage or the helicopter or the airplane mode as it is said, is slowly changing. Majority of the classrooms have changed. Now you have digital classrooms out there. But for a classroom to be effective, you need to have students with the 21st century skills. And there are those 6 C's as they're called. Creativity, communication, collaboration, as well as computing. So that is very, very important with them. But you need to also ensure that these students have empathy. They can take up social responsibility. They are able to take decisions on their own. It's very, very critical for them. And to do this, it is, you need to get into this, I would say, psyche of a student today. If you take the typical student, in the morning when he's up at his home, he's probably watching the television or listening to the radio, which is ICT also per se, or he may be using an SMS facility on his phone, or surfing the net, whatever. The only time when he switches off from ICT is when he goes to school or college. But practically the whole day they are, hooked on to some or the other mode of ICT. So as everybody had said, it is important that we also sync up with this generation, the digital generation or the digital natives as they are talked about. To begin with, what we focus on is, why don't you have these students exposed to the basic nuances of digital literacy? This is something that we offer entirely free of cost, and it's available at a site called dsaksharta.in, available in multiple Indian languages. Anybody can go through these 5 modules, and once he graduates from this successfully, he gets a certificate. So that's the first step for digital literacy, which these students can actually go and, accomplish. But if you're looking at what's happening with respect to, in schools, how technology is changing, the first and foremost thing is you'll see in about 3 to 4 years, a couple of aspects of cloud computing coming in. Now, what exactly is cloud computing? If I have data which I want to port on the net, I would use some kind of infrastructure which would enable my, say, student attendance or marks or content to go up on the cloud, and I can retrieve it on any device which could be there. Devices is another thing which luckily the UP government has gone in with. And I think that's a great step which the state government has undertaken. But you'll also see mobile phone coming in. How many people here have mobiles? Can I have a raise of hands? So practically almost everybody has mobiles. So you'll see, if we have mobiles, why can't the students at a later stage, when this phones become smartphones, they may practically be using the smartphones in the classroom. This thing, what you see, is a gaming device, but it's not meant ideally for gaming. It is also used for students who face accessibility issues. So if I am a student who is physically challenged, can I have some kind of software which would enable psychomotor skills, my hand to move up and down? The student does not realize that I'm doing 2 + 2 is equal to 4. But there is a physiotherapy which is happening for such students. So that's the kind of advantage what you get. Content. I think a large number of content is being now created online. And if you can, Mr. Jitendra talked about why are teachers not building that content. If you have that content can be shared across the board. How do you assess whether that content has been used? And that's where learning analytics comes into place. And finally, as I had talked earlier, the personalized learning aspect is very, very important, which is one-on-to-one kind of learning. I can create my own modules which the teacher would assign to me, whether I'm a dyslexic kid or I'm a normal kid. So I can go and get all of those done. That's the aspect which we are doing. But to enable these students, it's imperative that you have teachers trained. We run a program in India called Partners in Learning, also known as Project Shiksha in India. And this program has now trained over 7 lakh teachers across the country. But once these teachers are trained, how do you ensure that they get recognized? So we run competitions for these teachers where these teachers get recognized. They get to represent India at zonal forums, regional forums, and international forums. In fact, last year, one of the teachers from Bulandshahr, Mr. Feroz Khan, had represented India at Prague. And that was a great accomplishment for them. But these teachers also need to interact with their peers. How am I teaching photosynthesis in Australia? How is it different from what I'm teaching in India? So I can go ahead and access a platform which is called the Partners in Learning Network, where I have 4 million teachers who are similar to the teachers in India, and they have lesson plans, etc., which are there. So I'm getting, 1 minute to go ahead. I'll just be fast on this. We cover various programs specifically which are catering to students, vocational students, as well as to faculty for their empowerment. One program like this is called the IT Academy, which enables students and teachers to go through almost about 300 e-learning courses, which ensure that these people get skilled on what the industry requires. And I think that was one of the challenges which was being talked about in the morning, that you have content, you have the resources, but you don't know how to streamline it to get these students, employable. And this enables you to do that. I would, just say that overall education has several components which you can ensure with the right kind of tools and assets and the right kind of training that goes with it. And technology avalanche is coming, which all of us need to be aware of. And if we need further information, I think we can go ahead and have that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's not such a pleasant job to, to manage time, but that is a duty I've been given to do. Thank you very much. It's very interesting, very useful. I request now Mr. Chiranjeev Banerjee. He is Country Manager, Geo Expansion from Hewlett & Packard. Welcome. You can share your views now. Thank you.
Very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you. So I will skip the slides and I will try and make it as simple as possible. So senior colleagues and friends and people on the dais, we have already discussed the need for vocational training and also about digitization. But why digitization? What is this big fuss of digitization. How does a small kid get impacted by digitization? And how are the parents, teachers, and all the people who are in the ecosystem of learning get impacted by this advent of digitization? I'll just take 2 to 3 minutes on them and then I'll wrap it up. So what we are talking about is making learning simple and making it an experience right from people who are in the K-12 and then moving up into higher education and then also into people who are now engaged into the new form of learning called the virtual learning, and which is basically, steaming up the entire industry of vocational training. So if we see now, India is actually an $85 billion economy on education. I don't know how many of you understand when I say it's an $85 billion economy. The hardware component part of it is only a minuscule $1.3 billion. But the segment which actually is growing at a CAGR of about 14 to 15% is the education services segment, which is basically imparting training and imparting the right skill sets to people. Now, most of us, when we took admission into engineering colleges or professional colleges, we never had a career counseling. I think it is extremely important that we map the student's interests and the capability, the existing capability of the student to what the student would like to do going forward in future. Now, with the current chalk and talk methodology, or maybe with the advent of computers, what best can we do? We can give the student a medium of instruction, or maybe at best try and change the medium of instruction, or maybe a bit of a behavior. But the real change has to come in the way the student needs to get counseled in every step, where he acquires skill set to actually chase a dream. So there is a gap. If I say an engineering student in 4 years, when he's a raw material getting into an engineering college, most of the students do not know why he has taken that branch. Remotely it is impossible for most of the students, but most of them have one objective in mind, which is getting a job. And it is important also for people who are into vocational training to understand what are the existing skill sets and analyze the skill sets and then take the people for the right vocational training which are commensurating with the existing skill sets so that they can be built up and the student can get employable, or he can actually get a headroom over others. Now, the entire process of digitization helps a student in achieving this. Now, how is obviously a large methodology which is beyond the scope of today's discussion, but I'll just tell you that how it actually happens is, in a typical system of learning, a student uses a device. It can be a chalk and talk methodology, or maybe a pen and paper, or it can be something where the content can be easily assimilated or easily generated. Now, that part is an access device, and the technology of digitization is agnostic of access devices. It can start with a basic tablet, to a smartphone, to a laptop, or maybe to any kind of a mobile device. Now, the need of a mobile device is to ensure that we constantly are on the student's mind, and we are actually driving our goal set 24/7. And that's how a mobile platform really helps a student in assimilating information much better than a standard platform which is used in existing classrooms. A lot of classrooms have really moved into an augmented methodology where, they have taken IT, but there is still, there are two sets of development. One is from an augmented to a blended system of learning, where we actually use whatever most of our fellow colleagues have mentioned, actually, which is a bit of software, a bit of learning management system, a bit of evaluation systems, which is going to be digitized, a lot of digitized content, textbooks, which actually need to be given to the student in the format and in the right kind of requirement, where we have a goal set being set at the beginning of the term period. So what are we talking? In the 4 years, we have a goal set. Every student has a goal set. So from the mass methodology of learning, we have moved into personalized learning, which is only possible through the digital medium. The student is governed. The student is not only governed by himself, he is governed by his teachers, his parents, and he gets a constant feedback. by the entire digitization process. So what we are doing is, not only the student is learning in the schools, but he is able to learn wherever he is on, whether he is on a project outside his campus or wherever he is in the home. And then there are different forms of instruction which the student can assimilate. So this is one way where technology is leading the change. And what are the technologies which are leading the change? I would say the advent of video. So most of us understand and assimilate video much better. A role play is much better form of assimilation of knowledge than a standard rote method of technology, where we actually keep on reading books, but at the end of the day don't assimilate much of it. Science says that a video has much more recognition effect in our mind, and even after multiple tests we have observed that the faster a student assimilates and the more he can retain, the better it is for the student going forward in developing any kind of a skill set. So technology is driving the whole continuum of video, and most of the technology leaders today are there with devices which are, I heard one of the devices which ILFS has spoke about. I think, some of these things are going to change the canvas of education. So thanks to all of you. We can have an extended discussion later.
Thank you very much for being very brief but very interesting. I now invite Mr. Srinivas from Intel. Thank you. He is Director, Enterprise Solutions, Intel South Asia. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Alok Kumarji. At the outset, I would like to take the opportunity to take a minute to thank the government of Uttar Pradesh for giving us this opportunity of associated with the EU Uttar Pradesh Conclave. I was mentioning it to Jivesh Nandanji and respected Chief Secretary yesterday that it is one of the best that's ever held in the anywhere in India. I was attending for almost last 1 decade. Thank you, sir. So, this is the way we look at it, right? As your Honorable Chief Secretary mentioned, if you look at UP in terms of rank in the population size, it's the 5th largest country in the world. So if you are getting associated with UP, it's a great privilege that you are actually associated not just with the UP, but with India and with the world, considering the size and the importance. And it's a great honor. So in a way, in the next 3-4 minutes or so, I won't take much time, sir. So I will just, my talk is going to be a kind of a summary of all the speeches that you had, because there is no debate on the importance of technology in education, number one. There's not much debate on the way that you have to implement technology in a very integrated way in the classrooms and for education. There's no debate on that. Having said that, the only thing that we need to do is, as an industry and government, we have to come together and execute, right? And execute and make it happen. So I think that is the next big thing that as I see. This one? Yeah. Okay. As I said, the future is now, right? When we all studied, many of the skills that are required today, we have not anticipated, right? So every 10 years, I think almost 80% of the skills that are relevant today will get outdated. So in terms of its importance, the education has to constantly reinvent itself to actually meet the needs of the future. So that is, to an extent, our future, the newest economy depends on the education. If it is education, as I said, it depends on the contribution of our contribution to UP in terms of education, right? So for whole of India. And as my previous colleague said, the technology in education is just not about learning outcomes, like learning more scores in math, science, and English, and go into the rat race of getting scores, getting admissions, etc. If the education has to give it to the society, the technology has a crucial role to play in also getting effective communication, critical thinking, problem solving, which Lokesh has actually very rightly illustrated about the C's, I think 6 C's he said, right? So actually technology has to address those aspects more than the curriculum. So, and when you implement technology, it becomes a student-centric learning. Teachers become facilitators, right? So, because when you give access to technology, as you've seen in UP in the last 1 year or so with the laptop scheme, the access to technology can do wonderful things, right? And it shifts the focus of the learning to be more student-centric. And the teacher becomes a facilitator who helps getting the resources, getting the right tools with the help of technology to the hands of the student. So I think Lokesh also showed the same chart. Now the trend to make it happen, to education actually provide 21st century skills, the focus has to shift gradually from basic IT and PC labs to one-on-one learning. UP already did one-on-one learning in higher education. I think it's necessary that in the K-12 and other spaces as well, from PC labs, we actually go to the one-on-one e-learning, which various partners and various number of solution providers are actually giving solutions to this. Having said that, this is 1 minute that I would like to take the importance of technology in education, right? It's just not technology alone. Our approach, we sincerely believe that technology alone cannot improve the outcomes in education. You need to have a policy framework, you need to have the right curriculum and assessment systems, and you have to have teacher professional development, which respected Jitendra Kumarji has rightly pointed out. The teachers, computers are not magic but teachers, as our ex-chairman said, Craig Barrett. It's actually the teachers are the magic here. The professional development is very, very important. And the research and evaluation, the way we research the outcomes and evaluation has to be a continuous process. And finally, the last pillar is technology, which can help do all the rest of the 4 pieces. So as an education, we believe that it's kind of a holistic approach, just not the device alone, not just the content alone, but all the 5 pieces coming together. And if there is a debate on the impact of technology to transform education, there is no debate. We have conducted various studies which actually showed that the enrollment ratio in the schools, especially among the girls in the rural areas, especially when you actually provide computers, it actually helps them to motivate to come to the school. And even the performance increases. Some of the studies that we have done in Nigeria as well as Argentina, some of the emerging countries, shows there is a strong correlation between technology and education in terms of improving the outcomes. Just last but not the least, I would like to say that education, technology in education is a big focus for us across the world and India too. Professional development of the teachers. We just started the initiative under the able leadership of Jitendra Kumarji for Intel Teach, which actually provides professional development for the teachers. We did a great beginning and we would like to go to around 10,000 teachers in the very near future. And we have IRIS, the science fair. The science education among the schools is basically essentially is got over the period of years, it has neglected, right? We need more Dr. C.N.R. Rao's, more scientists coming out of our schools. So yesterday, the Vigyana Yatra impact report was released. We saw around 30% increase in the science project submission to the national fair, which was just held recently a couple of months ago from UP. And we are proud to say that our initiatives on the science and maths education in India has produced 5 national fair award winners, and 1 has actually gone into US to get to compete there in terms of science projects. And apart from that, we are also making available devices which are very customized for education. As I said, the device is now not just hardware alone, it is the software that comes with it, the education software. Be it to help the device not to get stolen, anti-theft technology embedded into the chip, be it the classroom management, or be it an editor to help edit and highlight your lessons. So a number of things come bundled with the application. Apart from this, we are also bundling all the education content which is now available offline to help students to know about how computer can be utilized for getting themselves educated in science and maths, free content that gets bundled along with our devices, and also help them learn English through computers. Because English is a kind of a language which is globally, helps children to go into the international stage. That's something that we did, and also provided a number of activities along with the computer software, this education software. So there are a number of other initiatives, including even in engineering colleges. Alok Kumarji has mentioned about the skills. We actually tied up with around 100 engineering colleges in UP to provide them curriculum and skills on embedded technologies, Internet of Things, multi-core technology, VLSI, and some of these latest design skills to provide. Even in fact, the labs in our IIT Kanpur, our association with IIT Kanpur was a decade or more than a decade old. Those labs just not cater to the high-end education in IIT Kanpur, but all the other colleges in the rural areas, the faculty come there. We enable the faculty to come there and upgrade their skills. We have almost done for 100 engineering colleges around IIT Kanpur from the rural UP to come there and get upgraded their skills. So these are a number of other initiatives that we are doing in UP, and it's actually privileged, and would like to continue our efforts in UP. As I said, if you are serving UP, you are serving the world. That's period. So that's our intention and commitment to do well in UP. Having said that, the last thought I want to say is there is no difference in opinion on the approach to how technology needs to be implemented in education. Industry has to come together. Mishra ji has mentioned about national IT policy. We actually, and part of the policy is there has to be a digital literacy in every home in the country. So to that extent, we formed National Digital Literacy Mission, which is industry driven, and Intel is the biggest contributor in that, one of the largest contributor in that. HP and Microsoft are also a member. So that's a great example of industry coming together to provide professional development to the teachers and give technology and give content to the students along with the device. UP has done a wonderful job, and I must congratulate, there's no dearth of congratulations and the success stories that we all heard, that what UP did in terms of giving device to the hands of the teachers, to the students. And now I think the next step is teachers, and provide training to the teachers, provide to the students, because literacy is no longer defined as pure basic literacy in today's world. It is literacy is equivalent to digital literacy. So to that extent, would like to work from bottom of our heart across UP to make this vision happen. And last but not the least, I also must compliment the IT policy of the UP, right, which is one of the most comprehensive policies. It's just not investments, but also in capacity building. It focuses a lot in capacity building on the certification process for employability, and the basic tenet of the policy is IT leveraging it for economic development. It's a great mission. So with this, I just would like to, I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank the government of UP for having given us the privilege of getting associated with you. It's a great honor, and would like to continue our journey going forward in terms of enabling content, enabling training, along with the devices. So we are honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have very little time. Before I summarize, we would like to take, say, 3 questions, if there are any. First 3 questions. If there are any questions or any interventions, we'll welcome. So if there are none, then I will do my duty. First of all, I must thank you, my panelists, who have put in their best and very useful interventions. And I must also apologize to them if I've been harsh on some occasion in managing time. That was duty given to me. Let me very briefly summarize the issues, because the whole objective of the discussion, panel discussion, is to come to some sort of consensus or understanding for future work. What has been brought out is that we have enough funds. It was brought out, and that is the understanding we have. We have very good technology. So funds are there, technology is there. The three key issues which have come are the shortage of teachers and shortage of trained teachers. So the task is cut out that we have to manage content through innovations like KAN and other similar interventions, and also take on a massive project for training of teachers. This was brought out by most of the panelists. Then second common understanding which emerges is the intervention of technology in education has to be student-centered. So all the tools have to be designed so that students take larger interest, their abilities are tested to the maximum, and we assess the students with different abilities. Third, the understanding which has emerged that the IT in education has to make the education more oriented for job and the growth, for growth of the economy and the job. So the work which is being done by NILIT for NVEQF is remarkable, and we need to take it forward so that whatever we do, it conforms to national standards, and which are well recognized by the industry, so that the students, they get job, they are employable after the education. And one very key suggestion which I feel is very important, that all the intervention of technology in education has to be within a well thought out policy, well designed curriculum, and as I mentioned initially, there has to be matching institutional capacity in the departments and the institutions, at the colleges or the schools, to take it forward, so that we can make the education more effective and more enjoyable. Thank you very much.
I thank all these speakers and the program chair for such an enriching session over IT in education, where the access of IT in education sector and the challenges and opportunities coming through were discussed. With that, I would like to invite Shri G.S. Naveen Kumar, Special Secretary, Department of IT and Electronics, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to present mementos to all our panelists and the session chair. Sir, I welcome you on the stage. To present us the memento to Mr. Alok Kumar, Principal Secretary, Vocational Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh. Mr. Jitendra Kumar, Secretary, Secondary Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh. I would like, sir, to give away the memento to Mr. Lokesh Mehra, Director Education Advocacy, Microsoft. To Mr. Chiranjeev Banerjee, Country Manager, HP, India. Mr. Mishra from NILIT. Then the representative from ILFS Education. So, please. Also to Mr. Srinivas S., Director, South Asia, Intel. I would request all the panelists to have a group photo with Mr. Naveen Kumar and with their mementos, please. So there'll be a small weekend break for tea and coffee for 10 or 15 minutes. So 11:40 we are